I'm Dwayne Brown. Tonight on KPBS Evening Edition, Governor Jerry Brown has signed a controversial right-to-die bill. And neighbors in Point Loma are buzzing over plans to change flight paths for San Diego International Airport.
The Coastal Commission braces for a big public meeting before it votes on a plan to expand orca tanks at SeaWorld San Diego. SeaWorld and PETA tells us about the controversial plan. Also ahead, the first summit to reduce food waste and help the hungry comes to San Diego. I'm Peggy Pico with how the Food to Fork to Farm plan works.
Also tonight, San Diego used to host a lot of TV and film production, and there's an effort to bring it back. KPBS Evening Edition starts right now. Hi, good evening. Thanks for joining us. Governor Jerry Brown signed one of the most controversial bills of the year, giving terminally ill patients the right to end their lives with drugs prescribed by their doctors. Brown says he did it after thoroughly considering all opinions, including two of his doctors and a Catholic bishop. Brown said, quote, "In the end, I was left to reflect on what I would want in the face of my own death." He said he didn't know what he would do if he was dying in prolonged and excruciating pain, but he was certain it would be a comfort to be able to consider the options in the bill. The new law requires patients to be able to take the medication themselves. They must also submit several written requests and get approval from two doctors. Two witnesses are also required, one of whom is not a family member. The bill was opposed by religious groups and advocates for the disabled. California is now the fifth state to pass a right-to-die law. What to do with all that spent nuclear fuel at San Onofre? California Coastal Commission will vote Tuesday on Edison's plan to expand its storage of nuclear waste at the shuttered facility, partially burying 75 canisters of spent fuel rods just north of Oceanside. Commission staff is recommending approval. Opponents say it's a bad idea and dangerous for the public.
The nuclear waste is being packed into massive containers, and those containers are very difficult to move. What we're saying is, hey, put them in smaller containers that are easily moved so we can get them out here.
San Diego supervisors have called on Congress to find a long-term solution. The Coastal Commission will meet in Long Beach for a vote tomorrow. San Diego City Council will vote tomorrow on a change to the referendum process. The proposal would strengthen disclosure requirements for groups collecting signatures for a ballot initiative.
And we want to provide a level of transparency so that when folks are asked to sign a petition, they know exactly who's supporting that measure, and they can make their decision to sign or not sign with that and other pieces of information in their hands.
Councilman Todd Gloria says this will be the first of several steps to make signature gathering more transparent. His minimum wage increase was put on hold last year after a group opposing the measure gathered enough signatures to force a popular vote. Some neighbors in Point Loma are abuzz over a proposal to change flight paths at Lindbergh Field. The Federal Aviation Administration is making changes nationwide to ease air traffic congestion and reduce carbon emissions. Folks in Point Loma are worried about noise. The airport authority will hold a special meeting about the plan tomorrow night. You can find more information online at kpbs.org. SeaWorld's plan to expand its home for orcas is up for a vote Thursday. Peggy Pico takes a closer look at the controversial proposal.
The Coastal Commission says it received more than 150,000 emails and letters, and about 4 to 1 were against the orca tank expansion at SeaWorld San Diego. SeaWorld's former president and CEO describes the $100 million project.
When this facility is unveiled, the killer whale habitat here will have nearly doubled in size. 50 feet deep, more than 10 million gallons of continually filtered and chilled seawater, surface area of more than 1.5 acres.
Animal activist groups oppose the project, saying the orcas should be released. PETA spoke to KPBS by phone earlier today, and we'll have a bit of that conversation in just a moment. But first, I'd like to welcome Dr. Hendrik Nollens, Senior Veterinarian for SeaWorld San Diego. And Dr. Nollens, what's the purpose behind the expansion project called Blue World?
Blue World consists of two things. The first part of it is the habitat expansion that you were referring to, and the second part of it is actually a $10 million grant that has been issued, the largest private donation in its kind, for killer whale conservation research. Now, going back to the habitat expansion is the 5th expansion in the history of SeaWorld San Diego. In this particular case, it actually almost doubles the size of our current killer whale habitat, and we add that to an existing pool. So basically creating a big lagoon, varying depths with a 20-knot water current, rubbing beaches, a much more naturalistic environment.
What sort of impact or difference would this make on the orcas that you have right now?
It's a bigger, better home. You know, that's exactly what it's supposed to be. It's more dynamic. It has water currents. It allows for a lot more exercise, enrichment, play opportunities, socializing, and it also has an unprecedented research potential. There are electronic modules that have been cast or will be cast into the walls of the habitat, and we're taking advantage of current technology, electronic technology, and for anticipating any enrichment and research needs and research questions that we may get in the future.
How many orcas does the park have right now, and would this expanded tank mean you'd be getting more?
No, there are currently 11 whales that call SeaWorld San Diego home. There is no plans to bring in any additional whales. It's just expanding the current home for our current population.
Now, earlier today, PETA explained their opposition to the expansion plan.
And that's because it really does nothing to better the lives of the orcas who are held at SeaWorld. This project was clearly intended to mislead the public to believe that a newer tank that appears more natural to them means better care and humane captivity. We think that these orcas need to be transferred to coastal sanctuaries, which SeaWorld certainly has the opportunity to develop, where they can live in as natural a setting as possible for the rest of their lives.
Now, since the 2013 release of the documentary Blackfish, which was critical of SeaWorld's orca program, the company's stock has dropped by 50% and attendance is also down. Is this expansion a response to some of that criticism?
No. When you look at SeaWorld's history, every 15 to 20 years, we have expanded the killer whale habitat. The last expansion was in the mid-90s, so we were due. This was coming anyway.
If the Coastal Commission actually approves the project, when would the construction begin?
As soon as possible. We're set to begin right away so the project can open in 2018, and there's a lot of work to be done.
Okay, so 2018 would be
Correct.
when it would be open, when it would be finished. What if the park, if the commission actually votes no on it, then what happens then?
We are very excited to present this project to the Commission. It is, our presentations will make it very clear that this project is a big win for the whales, so we're looking forward to presenting it to them.
Now, would this project mean that the whales are actually going to still be performing, or is this, you had mentioned research going on with them, is it something that could just transition them away from performance?
It is an addition to their current habitat. So the current killer whale habitat will continue to be as is. You know, activities will be there as usual. The pool allows for more enrichment opportunities, and more research opportunities. So those would happen in that Blue World project.
In addition to the performance.
In addition to what currently goes on today.
All right, SeaWorld San Diego veterinarian Hendrik Nolans, thank you so much.
Thank you.
An update tonight on some closed Hagen stores in San Diego County. 2 grocers want to purchase 8 of the 36 stores in California, including one in Carlsbad, Del Mar, and San Diego. Smart and Final and Gilson's Markets have submitted bids. Hagen is closing 25 stores in San Diego County, leaving 1,500 workers out of a job in several communities without a place to shop. Hagen took over dozens of Albertsons and Bond stores earlier this year, but quickly ran into financial troubles. The owner of the San Diego Union-Tribune and LA Times is offering buyouts to its employees. Tribune Publishing sent a memo to staff today. The Associated Press says it offers buyouts to non-union workers with more than a year of service. It says the company needs to cut costs. San Diego is reviving an effort to bring TV and film production back. Supporters remember the glory days of more than a decade ago. KPBS reporter Steve Walsh tells us film industry insiders say it may be worth it, but it won't be easy.
This is a shrapnel. It's a Peruvian cork. So we put those on the explosion so when it goes, you don't feel it, but you see it.
Stu Siegel specializes in using Hollywood movie magic to give Navy SEALs and corpsmen a taste of what it's like to be in combat. They've been invading the back lot of Seagull's San Diego studios for more than 10 years.
When they're here and it's this gunfire going off, it's real. They are in combat. They can intellectualize the fact they're training, but intellectually and emotionally, they're in combat.
Seagull used to be San Diego's most prolific TV producer. Beginning in the 1990s, his production company was known for action dramas like Silk Stockings and Veronica Mars. He said it all started coming apart after September 11, 2001. Networks moved away from the action-packed, budget-friendly dramas that made his studio famous in the industry toward even more budget-friendly reality TV.
From when I was doing it, you know, we had a camera operator and a cameraman and a da-da-da. Now it's all done. Pick up a video camera and let's go. Or take your phone out of your pocket and make a movie. You know, I'm way beyond that generation. I don't quite get any of that, but I see people doing it. And I think it's fascinating.
The finances behind the movie industry have also changed since the days of Veronica Mars. Other states began offering big tax incentives to lure Hollywood productions. Georgia and Louisiana actually began filming more big-budget Hollywood films than California. In 2009, the state came back with its own tax credit. A San Diego production was one of the first to qualify.
I'm Hank Dolworth, and this is my partner, Britt Pollack.
20th Century Fox and FX produced Terriers in Ocean Beach.
What?
Bad things.
The California Film Commission estimates the crew spent $16 million in San Diego County.
Are you saying we're small time? What if we're actually big time and just didn't realize it?
Unfortunately, Terriers was canceled after one season.
Steadicam is rolling.
Many of the local professionals are still around. They often find work on smaller independent productions, like this one with Francine Filsinger, a local actress and president of the San Diego Filmmakers.
Oh, that's it. I've had enough. I do get a lot of emails and phone calls, you know, and I'll ask them, how you doing? And they'll say, hey, I'm just struggling to pay my mortgage. I'm just trying to feed my family. And I really don't want to go to Georgia or Louisiana or Vancouver to film. I want to stay here. I want to be able to go to my child's Little League game or whatever it is. And that's a real challenge.
Despite the ups and downs, this year California decided to triple its tax credit to $330 million a year for the next 5 years. Crews get an extra 5% if they film outside of LA. The first round was for movies. No San Diego films made the cut. The area's next shot is in November when TV producers pitch their shows. Do you miss it at all?
Rarely.
Stu Siegel is happy to have moved on from the TV business. Though California may not be the exclusive hub of the film industry, he thinks the city is still a prime location.
It's a great place. It's, you know, blue sky. It's friendly. I mean, it's all the things you'd love, and it's 2 hours outside of LA.
Even with all the competition, he thinks San Diego is still just one studio deal away from making it big. Steve Walsh, KPBS News.
Video journalist Katie Shulove helped produce that story. You can learn more about the revival efforts online at kpbs.org. An increase in the number of women in the county using methamphetamine. A new report says 53% of the women booked into county jails last year had meth in their system. The report says it's the highest number in 15 years. 40% of male inmates tested positive for meth as well. Governor Brown got a thank you today for signing a bill aimed at reducing racial profiling by police. The measure was introduced by local state lawmaker Shirley Weber. It requires police and law enforcement departments across the state to record information about stops, frisks, and searches. Officers will also have to report race, ethnicity, gender, and age, and create an advisory board to analyze the information and make recommendations to address problems with racial profiling.
Mostly it's for all the parents, black, brown, Asian, Native American, who every day have to school their young people what to do when you're stopped by the police. What do you do when you have an encounter with police? This is not a just state, and AB 953 is one step forward to making our state different.
For us,
the State Sheriff's Association is opposed to the new law. They say it will make it difficult for officers to enforce and take too much time. bringing breast screening exams to the people who need them. The goal of a clinic on wheels launched this morning in City Heights. Health providers believe barriers to transportation, childcare, and interpretation contribute to higher rates of late-stage breast cancer in San Diego.
We needed to take these services out on the road where women live in their community and having the cultural competency that's required to make people feel comfortable.
People don't have to worry about, how am I going to get there? What am I going to do with the kids? All of that. They just know it's in their own neighborhood, and they don't need an appointment. They can just come right in and get taken care of.
The coach will be at Food for Less in Chula Vista Saturday. The exams are free to women 40 and older and take about 10 minutes. Day-old bread, vegetables passed over at the farmer's market. A City Heights group is rescuing these items before they make it to the dumpsters and feeding them to the homeless. Speak City Heights video journalist Brian Myers produced this story.
There's some soup and tacos over there. There's a ton of people in City Heights that could use an extra meal. We take food that is donated or about to be thrown away, and we prepare healthy vegetarian and vegan meals and feed it to anybody who wants it. Food Not Bombs in some form has been active in San Diego for 5, 6, 7 years. City Heights Food Not Bombs this time around started in January of this year, so we've been going for almost 10 months.
How's it going, sir?
I think it's an amazing community with lots of awesome people.
Want some salad?
Yeah.
You want fruit too?
Yeah.
We all need a little help every once in a while, and I just wanted to make time to do something more. We're trying to save food that's being wasted, and we're trying to feed, we feed anybody, but there are a lot of homeless people in this park. There's a lot of homeless people in San Diego. People complained that we are promoting homelessness by feeding 1 day a week at the park.
Thank you.
If people in City Heights aren't comfortable with the park being full of homeless people, then maybe we should open a shelter. Or if they're concerned that there's mental health issues and if their families are in danger, then maybe they should open more low-cost and free clinics for services like that. I don't think people are giving up their jobs and homes and security for a bowl of veggie soup on Sunday afternoons. We would just like to continue to do what we're doing and just see it as one part of something that's helping.
That story was produced by Brian Myers at the Media Arts Center. Peggy Pico now tells us about another effort to prevent food waste and help the hungry.
The Food Waste Solution Summit will be held in San Diego tomorrow. Local business leaders, food assistant groups, and environmental groups will address hunger and the environmental impact of food waste in our region. Joining me with the details are Kelly Kratzer with Feeding America San Diego and Ellie Brown with the Food System Alliance, the group organizing the event. And Kelly, Feeding America San Diego works to feed the county's hungry. Give us a snapshot in who's in need of food here.
Yeah, absolutely. We have nearly 500,000 individuals in our county who struggle with hunger. That's 1 in 7 adults and 1 in 5 children who don't know where their next meal is coming from. So these are people all across the county. A lot of them are working individuals. 64% of households had at least one member of their family working for pay within the last 12 months. So, people from all over the area.
And Ellie, how big of a problem, if we move on to the other side of this food waste, how big of a problem is that here in San Diego?
Well, currently 500,000 tons of food goes into landfill each year. That's 1 billion pounds of food. In national statistics, they estimate around 40% of food is lost somewhere between farm to fork. So what we're trying to encourage is a closed loop system that goes from farm to fork back into the farm. So creating more efficiencies between farm to fork so that 40% number goes down dramatically and everybody has food to eat. And scraps go back into the farm through animal feed and compost so that we're building soil fertility.
And I want to touch on that in just a moment, but first I want to get back to Kelly on this food with the hungry. Where does the food that you distribute to these 1 in 7 people who go hungry here in San Diego, where do you get it from?
We get it from actually a couple different sources. We are part of the National Network of Food Banks, Feeding America affiliated food banks. We have access to a lot of resources and food through that affiliation. So they have relationships with big names like Kroger or General Mills, Kellogg's, big names like that, manufacturers. Then we also get a lot of produce. So 50% of everything we distribute is fresh produce. And so we work with the California Association of Food Banks, which is a network in California that works with farmers to get the produce that they may otherwise not be able to take to market because it may be quote unquote ugly produce. So it might be carrots with 2 legs or apples that are just too small to take to market, but still perfectly edible.
Well, speaking of which, grocery stores often clear the shelves with items that are about to expire. And I'll start with you, Kelly. How do you get any of that food? And if so, how do you make sure that it's still good to eat?
Absolutely. About half of everything that we distribute comes from grocery stores in our area. So that's Target's, Food for Less, Albertsons. And as far as that expiration date goes, it's actually really interesting. The date that is on packages is actually not mandated, like federally mandated. So we have training resources for all of our partner agencies. There's also some really great stuff online that teaches them how to read that.
Yeah, and speaking of the same thing, Allie, how do you keep that food, let's say, on the grocery shelves that are, maybe going to be tossed out? How do you keep that from getting into the landfill?
Well, what we as consumers can do is really encourage these businesses to donate that expired food. And as Kelly mentioned, the sell-by dates and expiration dates are fairly arbitrary. That's set by manufacturers, which really encourages us to waste more and buy more. So there's market dynamics involved. So as consumers, we can really help to drive down the waste numbers by convincing businesses to donate. And there's liability protection, the Good Samaritan Act, that protects businesses from liability.
Okay, and Ellie, what needs to be done here in San Diego to expand programs to reduce food waste?
Sure. So we really need to invest in local resources and local solutions in order to divert food waste going into landfill. So making sure that donatable food can be sent to food pantries, making sure that food scraps can be sent to the farms for compost and for animal feed. However, there's regulatory barriers that need to be addressed on the composting side to make sure that local community composting sites can be built out to accept that type of food. And also the distribution systems need to be in place so that we can connect the food waste or the wasted food to those who need it.
All right. Ellie Brown and Kelly Kratzer, thanks so much. And I want to let folks know we have more about this on the summit on our webpage, kpbs.org. Thanks again.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
The Matador Business Academy at Mount Miguel High School requires its students to dress professionally every Monday. KPBS education reporter Matt Bowler says the Academy's underprivileged students are getting help from the United Way so they too can dress for success.
So for my first few years as an actual college graduate, I didn't look right.
James McFarland teaches marketing at Mount Miguel High School's Business Academy, but he comes from a family of shipbuilders near Belfast, Ireland. McFarland says it's normal for kids to need a bit of coaching when they learn how to dress professionally.
Nice look, but you need to find a shirt that fits better around the neck.
Like him, lots of young people don't come from families who dress for the business world.
Like if you're coming from a family where your family are wearing professional dress to work every day, you get a better sense of what it means to be dressed professionally.
The United Way helped coordinate the volunteers and donations from department stores like Macy's and Nordstrom's. Adina Veen from the United Way says being dressed properly is a huge confidence boost.
Dressing the part and feeling confident and professional when you step into an interview or when you actually do an internship, then they can feel confident that they're there to get a lot of great work done.
McFarland says students aren't putting on a uniform. They're learning to dress like the adults they're working to become. Matt Bowler, KPBS News.
I'm Judy Woodruff. On the next News Hour, the Supreme Court begins a new term. That's Monday on the PBS News Hour.
Sign of things to come. Another wet day in San Diego. This was the scene earlier as students went to and from classes at San Diego State. National Weather Service says many places in the county got upwards of 1/4 to 1/3 of an inch of rain, and It was closer to 3/4 of an inch in the mountains. Even some light snow in the mountains of San Bernardino County. Ivory Small with the Weather Service says we should use these rains to prepare for the wet season.
Because we're expecting El Nino to return and last through the winter time, it's probably a good time for folks to take a look around their houses and make sure their gutters are cleaned out to be able to accept any heavy rain that we might see later on in the season.
County health officials say to stay out of the ocean for the next 72 hours due to a rise in bacteria levels from the rain. Make sure your sprinklers are off too. San Diego's drought rules call for keeping them off for 48 hours after rain. While the rain is on its way out, we have sunshine in the forecast over the next few days. Look at there. Mid-70s for the coast and a gradual warming trend, mid-70s into the mid-80s for our inland valleys. Mountain temperatures also getting to about 80 degrees by Thursday. And for the desert, back into the 100-degree range. Of course, you can find tonight's stories on our website, kpbs.org/evening edition. Thanks for joining us. You have a great night.